And I just realized my mic was off. Good evening, everyone. I'm Doom Geek. So for all y'all who are joining us for the first time, this is our first official broadcast of these live games. Really excited to see how things are going. Thanks for covering me for a little bit there, Dwayne. Let's go and get right into it with Champ Select here. And so what do we have with these bands right now, Dwayne?
Yeah, we're seeing some pretty standard bands. Caitlyn's been coming out a lot recently, mostly as just to make sure that one team can't really get a good early game siege comp off. I don't think she's particularly strong in customs, but she does help define one of the strategies that people are trying to make happen in these customs. So it kind of makes sense to me that people would ban her early. Also, Leona ban coming out early. We see that in almost every game, although usually you're in the games that Leona is banned Doom Geek.
Yeah, in this case, I think there's also don't disregard Pious Hippos, Leona, definitely a force to be reckoned with, and just an incredible target of single CC.
Absolutely. And I think more than anything, she enables a lot of people who might be lower on the MMR board to have higher impact. She's very easy to play, and also she's really good at enabling engage comps. So it's really just such a handy tool. She's like the Swiss Army knife almost of our pick bans. Or at least she would be if it weren't for Ashe, who was also banned. Thank goodness. We don't want to see any more Ashe in these customs. And wow, holy crap, first pick Karthus. That was out of nowhere. What do you make of that, Doomgeek?
I had the same reaction. I was like, wow, Karthus. You know, recently in our games, Karthus had his debut kind of showing off that, hey, this is a hero we don't see very much played in these high engage, high dive comps. But now suddenly you have a hero that can go in and kind of die, or if they get dove on, still contributes to the fight. I think this is a pretty specific pick. I don't know if Karthus goes into every comp. This is kind of like, now that you have a Karthus on your team, you do set the tone for the rest of the pick ban.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're definitely going to have to pick some sort of dive comp for the blue team. And the response now is Senna for the red team, and Thresh for Drop It Like It's Box. It's looking like it. That would not surprise me at all. Drop It Like It's Box has been slowly climbing in the rankings, and it is due in large part to his Thresh play, in my opinion. I think his Thresh is far and above his greatest character. I think his win rate on Thresh is probably pretty broken. I think we can pull up the stats on that in a minute, but I'm glad to see him on it again. What a fearsome champ for the red team to pick up.
Yeah, and in this particular case, how do we feel about picking Senna against what potentially could be a dive comp? You know, if you see that the blue team is going dive, is Senna like a okay pick? And we see a Pyke as well.
That's a great question. Yeah, Senna is an immobile lady carry, and she needs to scale. It can be pretty tricky to play against a dive comp. It kind of depends on the champs that blue team fills it out with. If they're able to pick up champions that can punish Senna specifically, champions come to mind for me are like Jarvan. Since she doesn't have a dash, it's really hard for her to get out of the Jarvan ult. Malphite just one-shots Senna. If you're playing Senna, Malphite's probably your worst nightmare. So if blue team can pick up champs like that, then I think she's in big trouble. If they can't, Karthus and Pyke are pretty low range and really have to dive in to do anything. So if they could peel for Senna with the Thresh and the Galio, which are great peel champs, then I think she should be fine.
Yeah, and now we go ahead and see blue team rounding off their picks with a Pyke and a Kali, two assassins. This is interesting. We haven't really seen assassin comps come out in our customs, so this is going to be an exciting change of pace. And also with Galio coming on the red team, kind of formulating possibly a Protect the Senna comp. But we'll go ahead and see what the last two picks are. We're currently in ban still. Yone banned for red team, blue team still deciding theirs, and a Zilean banned for blue.
I would say this is one of my favorite things that happens in our pick bans. When one team picks a completely different strategy from the other. I feel the same way about Pro Play, to be honest. If anyone watches that silly old format, where on Summoner's Rift, if you have two teams that have the same kind of win condition, let's say they're both team fighting comps, one team gets ahead, the other team will just do nothing for 20 minutes because they know that if they try to act on their win condition, they're just going to lose since they're behind. But if they're very different win conditions, then they can still try to make plays. And when you see wildly different win condition team comps, the same applies even to this map. People are still much more willing to try to make things happen, and it's really fun to see those two different ideas kind of wrestle with each other.
I do like the Maokai ban here, just in general, very powerful here, really showing his strength, especially in the worlds. And with a Yone and Lilia ban targeting Down Bad and Zabumafu respectively, now we're going to the pick stage.
Super curious to see what Zabumafu's going to pick now. He has his Senna taken away, Nasus was banned, he also plays Ashe, Ashe was banned, and his Lilia is banned. That didn't leave with much. I mean, obviously his main champ of Kayle is still up, but I don't think Kayle's very good in this comp at all.
It's going to be a lot of responsibility in the red team. I saw red team just pick Misfortune. You have 2 assassins already picked for blue team, and not a lot of hard CC. You do have a small taunt from Galio, and Thresh with the Flay, but no hard CC to stop the Akali or the Pyke once they start diving on the backline. And I see a lot of good targets on red team for these assassins.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by the Misfortune. It could still be good. I still don't think it's doomed. And wow, there's the Kha'Zix from Zabumafu.
It is an
I
assassin
think you
comp.
played this already this week, right?
Yeah, and the Kha'Zix really popped off, showing off both the effectiveness of having an assassin dive in on a squishy backline, and a little bit of the mobility of Kha'Zix, able to get in via snowball and jump out using his abilities.
Yeah, and Kha'Zix is such a strange champion too, because he's one of the few assassins that scales extremely well, which is kind of, it's just very strange for an assassin. Typically, you play an assassin to win in the mid game.
We all saw that Teemo hover.
Yep. Oh man, I still want to ban Teemo from our custom games in general. That champ is such a menace on this map.
But we're going to round out blue team's comp with the Varus, so we have a couple assassins and some poke pressure for when the fights aren't actually breaking out. What is red team going to pick as their last pick?
5 damage champs. Cash has got to pick something to keep his team alive, I imagine. And it's a Malzahar. Wow, classic anti-assassin pick.
That is super clutch.
I really like that. Yeah, I really like that. If this were Summoner's Rift, I would say absolutely pick that in the mid lane. Let's go. Like, you're countering the assassin is going to kill you. In this game, who is he going to ult? If he starts ulting someone and he's standing still, the other 4 like damage champs on the enemy team are just going to ape him. I don't play a lot of Malzahar, so I'm not really an expert in when you should pick him and when you shouldn't, but I feel like he's much more suited to a situation in which he has to stop one person. So this kind of seems a little sus to me.
I think it's going to be really interesting too. You see some of the strength here from the early game Taric ban. Inadvertently, maybe the blue team was going into it believing that they were going to do the assassin comp and wanted to get the Taric invincibility out of the way off the get-go.
Yeah, that's really smart. Although, to be honest, I don't know if Taric is that good against invincibility, or if his ult is really that good against assassins in general. Just because it takes so long for it to load up. Like, you feel like invincibility is good against assassins, right? Like, Kayle ult counters assassins, Kindred ult counters assassins. But with Taric, the windup is so long that typically you pick it into teams that will dive on you, and kind of do, like, gradual damage. Or even burst damage, but like in an AoE or something. So I think it was just kind of a generic ban in order to disable strategies, just like the Caitlyn ban was.
Now here's the tough question here, Dwayne. Who do you think is coming out a little bit ahead in the draft stage here as we're waiting for spectator delay?
Gosh, honestly, it's such a hard call. Like I mentioned earlier, these team comps want completely different things. Red team wants to team fight, protect its backline, and scale up with the Senna. Blue team is... honestly, they're skill checking. I mean, this is a huge statement for blue team. They're saying, we are going to run over you. We're going to play these high skill cap champions like Akali and Kha'Zix. These champions that are where our players will have a lot of control over how the game goes. And so I think they're just going to go for full chaos, assassinate people, and really skill check their opponents.
I'm really curious.
If I had to give it to anybody, I think I'd give it to blue team though.
Yeah, I think blue team. I think the assassins are going to be something that we're not super used to playing against, and that could be the edge here, the lack of familiarity and be able to deal with the assassins coming in and kind of just messing things up. How does Karthus fit into this situation here now?
Karthus is great at the situation. If you're an assassin, what you want from your team is you want them to be able to start fights, and you want them to be able to do tons of AoE damage so that you can go in and clean up. So Karthus, what he's really doing here is enabling the Akali and the Kha'Zix and the Pyke to get resets with the Pyke ult and get assassinations. So I think it makes a lot of sense. What I am concerned about though for for both of these teams actually is the ability for them to engage or start fights. Both teams have a way to get picks. You can get pike hooks and thresh hooks, but they don't actually have like true engage tools. If I'm looking at how the blue team's going to start a fight, if they can't get a pike hook, they're literally just going to have to Karthus snowball in and make something crazy happen. In that case, I expect Karthus to build a Rylai's and just try to slow the enemy team as much as possible, even though it kind of chunks his damage. But they're really just gonna like forehead to the keyboard, click go, everybody run forward, and blue team, like I know they want to peel back. We just talked about this. They want to peel back. They want to keep their backline alive. But there does come a point in the game where you need to be able to engage if you're up. Let's say you get 2 kills and you need to push a tower. If you can't engage, then what's the point? And they don't really have any engage tools either. I'm excited. I love that the blue team went for the skill checky comp. This is really fun. For some context on our leaderboards, since we have a minute to talk about that, 2Toxin at the moment is definitely the main bad guy of the leaderboards. He is far and away #1 on the elo charts. He doesn't have that many games played, so if he loses, his MMR will drop significantly. Everybody's eyes are on 2Toxin, and everybody on the blue team is aiming at him. So I can't help but feel like the blue team picked something like this in order to get at 2Toxin. And he's gotta be shaking in his boots if he's playing Senna this game.
Right at the get-go, Pyke gets the hook, trying to go ahead and get some early game damage, but super punished. An exhaust does come down from red team though. And a cleanse. A lot of summoners here used. Maybe the trade was potentially worth it to trade all the summoners, but that was lower health. But I forget, Pyke's passive does come to play here to go ahead and heal him up quite a bit.
Yeah, it's really going to depend on whether or not they can punish that Misfortune Flash. If they can kill Misfortune soon, then 100% worth. But if they can't, then it was kind of a waste of time. And I think they lost on the health trade there. But Pyke is still going for it. He's being a little cheeky, grabbing Galio. And of course, Galio goes in. You do not want to grab Galio. What an awkward movement by Pyke. But of course, Akali follows up with a snowball, and then the E gets an assassination. That's first blood.
Oh my goodness. The fight isn't quite over yet, though. With Pyke trying to continue the fight, getting a catch, and still getting the kills. Now 3-1 favoring blue team.
That first hook by Pyke was pretty sussy. He basically brought 3 Hawks on the Galio right in the middle of his team. You never want to do that. But that second one absolutely made up for it. What a great catch. And you can see the early game strength of these champions and the agency that the players on them have, even 1 minute into the game. I mean, that was an incredible dive in by Haley on Akali. I'm really surprised she did that much damage.
Yeah, and now the red team here is hoping to go ahead and get a little bit of reset. Cash still on pretty low health here, and against a team full of assassins, this could be a little bit risky here.
Absolutely. And just to add to the wild flavor of this game, can we check the items real quick? What is Varus building? What do you expect him to build, actually?
Typically, you got lethality Varus for the solid poke. Sometimes you have a little bit of interesting with the on-hit Varus, but here, that's a blasting wand. This is AP Varus.
Yup, that boy's going AP. I was thinking to myself before the game started, I expect him to go AD, because we want him to play a similar role as Karthus, right? Chunk down the enemy team so that the assassins can get their kills. But the enemy team does have Drop It Like It's Box on Thresh and a pretty tanky Galio with 3 Hawks. So I think the plan is to be able to one-shot them too. And that almost completely makes up for the weakness that I was talking about earlier with them not having any engage. They don't have to go in if they just get a Varus ult on one of the tanks and one-shot him.
Big hook by Thresher.
Believe me, AP Varus can one-shot.
Big hook by Thresher, and Misfortune gets pulled into the fight, unfortunately, gets taken out here.
There's that punish on the flash. Look at her timer. It's up in like, what, 20 seconds?
So close.
What a clutch timing. Yeah, blue team's off to a great start. They don't even have their ults yet. Pyke's still level 5. Imagine what will happen when Pyke has 6.
It'll be super fancy to see for sure. It will help though. Oh, good, close hook there by Thresh. It will help once Galio potentially has the ult as well to go ahead and help protect the team. Uh, but right now it is a tough position with blue team kind of in the early game. Thresh going in, rather Pyke going in super deep there, getting a great hook, and Akali landing some great damage. And Shutoxu. Oh man.
You're gonna dive that, right?
Oh,
Absolutely,
man.
every time.
The suppress kill and
But the
almost
Malzahar
made
gets
it
an
out.
ult on the Kali under tower. That's so brutal.
Potential strategic reset for 6. We see Akali does still have her ult up, and most of the ultis for blue team are still up, barring Kha'Zix. Red team's ultis are also up too, so maybe getting a die here to get the items to maximize the ult isn't the worst idea.
Oh, and strategic reset is the nicest way I've ever heard somebody name inting.
All according to the plan, I'm sure.
The strategic retreat to my base so I can buy more items.
Oh, an initiation with the Var Assault here. Akali immediately trying to go delete the Malzahar. Does ultimately get deleted. With everyone solo health, the Assassin's doing a lot of cleanup here. Pyke missing the ult. Senna ult going down. Big damage potentially from the Karthus ult. Not too much here. Currently 3-2 favoring blue. A lot of things happened there really, really quickly.
Wow, it's almost impossible to keep up with all the action. That was insane. I think what I really liked there was the Thresh. As soon as the Var Assault came out, the Thresh was able to back up with a hook and stop some of the enemy team members from going in with
Another big
them.
hook
But,
there.
oh my gosh, it's just so punishing.
And a quick disengage here by the blue team. As soon as they see the Galio ult come down, they go and back off there, going ahead looking for to get numbers again before they start the fight.
This is brutal. And honestly, as the game goes on, I expect this to be a little bit harder for blue team to get all of these free damage like moments off. As Senna gets range and damage, she'll just punish anybody who walks up. So all of these hooks that Pyke's going for, all of the shuriken that Akali's going for, this becomes harder as the game goes on. But right now, they have the advantage and they are pushing it.
Yeah, big responsibility, as mentioned before, for the Thresh and the Galio here to go ahead and provide a little more of that space to give their team, you know, the response. Oh, and a flash from Thresh here, maybe a little bit premature there. But the tanks on red team having to give their team space, and then making sure that the squishies on red team also position well. So it's gonna be tough, but oh, and a great hook by Thresh there. It's gonna be a punish. Oh, and they give all out on the Pyke there. They really wanted Pyke dead there.
It was subtle, but it looked to me like Thresh Flay canceled the Pyke dash, and then the Malzahar ult came in afterward to secure the kill. That was really sick.
Really, that was a lot of resources to use on the Pyke. I could probably see them, you know, just trying to get whatever kills they can, trying to get the numbers maybe to push tower. But that was Pyke's first death. Pyke's coming back with Duskblade.
And Pyke is such a slippery champion. You can see Luminati has been absolutely abusing Pyke's kit all game to go for these cheeky pulls and quick damage. He slips out as soon as he goes in.
Oh, and look at that.
He clearly is not ready for the Malzahar ult. And wow, Hyos Hippo snowballs in, dies almost immediately, but gets a ton of damage down. Unfortunately, I don't think his ult is up. Oh, nope, there's the ult. It does a good amount of damage, but he still doesn't have any AP. Haley's going in. She's going to follow up. Flashes out before she decides to dive. That's probably a good move.
Yeah, in this particular case, big moves by Pius to go ahead and kick the fight off. This is the kind of thing we're kind of talking about. It's like, okay, are they just going to do kind of hooks and who's going to start the fight? You called it here, Dwayne. Like the Karthus being able to initiate with a snowball to kick things off and get everyone kind of low off the get-go is really proving to be one of blue team's ways of starting a fight.
Yeah, but I'm super confused by that timing. I can't understand when Pius Hippo would do that when they were 4v5. I'm pretty sure that when Hippo went in, Luminati was still in base or dead.
Could have been a call from, oh, before we go, another big hook. And, oh yeah, this is what we're talking about in the pre-show here. With the ability of Kha'Zix to go ahead and jump in, hit a snowball, and dive right back out. We were talking a little bit about this while the pre-show, Zamufu and Cash were talking. Like, Kha'Zix can also be pretty slippery too. A little bit of skill checking there to see, can you catch the bug?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, another potentially big hook there by Thresh, looking for the Kha'Zix, but misses it by a hair.
And these slippery champions, I'm starting to turn around a little bit on this Malzahar pick, just because I think it's been so punishing to folks who haven't played with Malzahar very often. Because you can see Luminati is really abusing his mobility on Pyke, but yeah, if he gets grabbed like that and Malzahar's ult is up and he's nearby, he's just going to die again.
You have to remember, Pyke does have cleanse. Oh, and there you go. They execute there by the Pyke. Now number is serving a blue team. But will they be able to siege?
Yeah, they don't have a real AD carry. Varus can hit the tower, but he's choosing not to. Yeah, I think if Blue Team wants to win, Illuminati is going to have to be very careful, and this goes for all of them. All of the assassins going to have to be very careful walking up to the enemy team when they have the Thresh Hook and the Malzahar ult, because that's just a deadly combo. You walk up to a little bit too far, you're going to get one shot.
While we're in the between fights, I'm curious about the Malzahar here going mask. Is Malzahar one of the heroes that always goes mask, or given that the other team is mostly squishies, would this be a Leandri's game?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think your first point is right. Malzahar pretty much always goes mask. It's mostly due to his ability to poke very often with his silence, and also the fact that he has a dot. Mask just it synergizes with his kit way too well for him not to build it.
Got it.
We'll probably also see him go Demonic Embrace, to be honest.
Oh, who's gonna beat the hook? Right now we have Thresh and Pyke going for the hooks, kind of like, and then Thresh does beat Pyke out on it, but it ends up just being a small damage exchange. Both teams still at a stalemate.
Yeah, and a hook ward, I think Thresh beats Pyke every time.
A flash
It's
by
good that he was able to get
Misfortune
out, though.
there.
Honestly, looking towards how this game is going to move forward, I think the tanks on the red team are in the most awkward position. Imagine you're a tank in this team going against this team of assassins. Early game, they can one-shot you. And we might see that happen right now. Oof. We're only level 10. We're approaching the mid-game now. But early game, the blue team can one-shot you on a tank, right? We saw that happen in the first fight.
Oh, big hook here.
Mid-game, oh, wow, a great hook from both hooking each other.
Oh,
and once again, Thresh does come up on top in the hook fight.
A pretty good wombo combo here with to allow the and another hook. Huge
Flash
here.
hook!
Really trying to punish
the
the
drop
numbers
like his
here.
blocks on his Thresh.
Oh my goodness, and that hook was huge, managing to turn the tide for red team, but Karthus here probably going to take all of them out. Akali trying to go for the cleanup here. Gets exhausted. That might be the end of Akali here, and that's it. Big damage from AT
Wow.
Varus though.
What a clutch exhaust on Akali. I was pretty sure that Haley was going to take over there. But oh my gosh, drop it like it's box, coming up big on the Thresh. His hooks are almost as fire as his new album. That was amazing.
Really trying to take advantage of when they have the numbers, they're going to go ahead and try to push this, because the blue team is just going to try to take them off one at a time. So if red team has the ability to go ahead and push forward, I think, ooh, big ult there by Illuminati. Going to be able to slip
just
away.
barely gets him in range. I think Illuminati's perfectly fine here. He can E out whenever he wants.
But will the thirst get the better of him? All right. Made it out.
That was an uncomfortable amount of damage from the Kazakhs. Oh my gosh. Ooh, just to go back to my point from earlier, being a tank on the red team, this game must be so awkward. Because early game, you can get one shot. Mid game and late game, you can still get one shot. This Varus is going to ult people. So what do you do if you're Thresh or you're Galio?
Oh, man.
If the enemy team can absolutely kill you? Well, Thresh is doing a great job going in hook wars with Illuminati, and he's winning these over and over again. What is Illuminati thinking? Why does he keep going for these hook fights against Thresh?
It's I think it's a force of habit here. Fortunately, right now Illuminati is able to get away with it most of the time. There are times where like the hook ultimately results in him getting Malzahar ulted. I think once red team kind of gets a formula down, that could potentially be like a game-winning decision from red team if they end up catching Pyke in the late game on accident when Pyke's trying to be too greedy like that.
Yeah, we're talking about Varus one-shotting tanks. It's not going to happen until he gets his third item. He needs a hat. He does do a lot of damage to tanks right now, but every time Illuminati goes for a trade with Thresh right now, he's losing. He's got to rethink his strategy here. I mean, it's pretty easy to just not go for hooks on Thresh. Just hook anyone else. Walk to the other side of the map. It's that simple.
Very, very close there with Thresh almost hooking the Kazakhs. Both teams currently kind of looking for something here. Galio positioning pretty aggressively, or same thing with the Thresh. Got a big hook
thirsty.
here.
What
Oh,
a hook
man.
from Thresh, punishing Illuminati once again. Oh my gosh, it's been a constant war between these guys. Haley goes in on the Akali, gets a dive, gets her ult off, but gets absolutely destroyed. Wow. And I didn't see, did you catch who the Malzahar ult went on to? Because I didn't even catch that.
It was very, very short. I think it was just enough to go ahead and get down the suppress to lock down someone and then actually kill. So that's seems like that's what they have to do. If they catch someone with Malzahar ult, Malzahar calls it out, they collapse and kill that person, move on to the next target, because there's just too many people. Oh, and there comes the ult.
Uh-oh. She's dead, right? Senna's just dead, right?
The lantern there,
Oh.
giving us some extra health there.
Yeah, the Lantern gave a shield, the Senna ult gave a shield, and combined it was able to keep her alive. Drop it like its box, flashes forward for another hook. It was cheeky, didn't get it off, but it was a good try.
Red team always
Wow, and
kind
you
of being spooked with their low health. When oh, and Kha'Zix going in deep. Oh, and the deletion.
what a one shot! Oh, that was disgusting. Three Hawks ults in on the Galio, but I don't even think it's worth it. I think you just let your team die here because you're not going to save them. You've already lost your Senna. This fight's already lost. You just let your team reset and move on. Great response ult for Misfortune, though. Almost kills Zaboomafoo. Honestly, I would have held it for the wave, but that was still a good try. Luminati's fishing for the hook under tower. Gets it, and Hector is gone. Oof, that is a lot of damage. Honestly, this Kha'Zix is looking really scary all of a sudden.
It's definitely blue team still trying to push their early game lead. I almost feel like there is an air of, I think blue team knows that they can't necessarily let this game go late. They're there whenever they can push their advantage. They're pushing it. Like, look at this, another catch. Oh, and instantly popped.
One shot. And it's still sad to see Toxin use his flash after he's already gotten hit by the Var Assault. In his defense, I don't know if this was a spectator bug or something, but that didn't look like it hit him at all. That hitbox is a little bit too big, in my opinion.
I was surprised as well.
That is a fat Var Assault. Woo!
So in this particular instance, I still think red team still has is still in it. Like red team, as long as they can go ahead and keep on trying to survive into the later game, I think they can have it. We kind of talking about giving some time for the carries to kind of stack up. Maybe the tanks have to play a little more defensive to back up, but I wouldn't. The game's not over yet.
Absolutely. I think I'm also I have some question marks about the builds on the red team. Misfortune's going lethality. I think this build was pretty heavily nerfed recently. You basically don't build her lethality anymore. I think you pretty much either build her crit, which looks really bad this game, or AP, which could have been okay this game. Blue team has no way to heal, and that extra poke would have actually given red team a different win condition, or an additional win condition. And the Misfortune will still do a good amount of damage on your AP. So I think that's a little sus to me. I don't think the lethality build was correct there. I do, however, like the Senna build. The boots are kind of cringe. I think you usually have to go boots of speed here, but Senna's going lethality, which makes a lot of sense against a team of assassins. You're going to do an insane amount of base damage, and when she finishes rapid fire cannon, she's going to be a menace in these periods of peace where nobody's diving in on the enemy team.
I will say that with the, so close. Looking at the teams, like we were kind of talking before, how blue team does look pretty squishy. That for me, it kind of screams like, oh, lethality is a great way to go. But that's definitely a subtlety of like what you're saying, the Misfortune nerfs there, and kind of being aware of like what's changed about the hero.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those nerfs were actually pretty heavy-handed. So I'm a little surprised that it's coming out here.
That was some really aggressive
done
positioning by
poorly,
Kha'Zix and kind of backing out there. Wow. Not punished.
Absolutely. I mean, he knows he can get away with it.
Oh, he can't get away from that one,
What
though.
a great thresh
Force the
hook.
flash and good
Oh
follow
my
from
gosh.
Misfortune. A lot of big locks from Senna here. Look at that Malzahar locking down what appears to be a Kali. Oh. Red team coming out here with a lot of health, and blue team able to really quickly disengage. This could have ended really poorly for blue team. The blue team decided, all right, we didn't get it, but Adi's still on it. Adi still wants to keep him fighting.
Absolutely, and Hugh can get away with it as long as he doesn't get hit by the thresh. But of course, that's happened a lot already, so I don't know if that's a safe bet. What a great teamwork, by the way. Oh my gosh, one shot by Varus in the back. I didn't even catch that the ult came out.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water.
Blue team are still in it. Bad flash by Misfortune. Luminati takes her out in the back. Now two Toxins running for his life. The hooks are still coming out from Thresh, though. Thresh is ready to go. Adi still has his
Pyke
ult
is
up.
looking for it. Pyke is too low
Great
now.
flash from two Toxin, and that's a dead Pyke. I was going to say, your call about the teamwork from Red Team in the earlier fight was amazing. I mean, the Thresh hook came out, and then suddenly the Galio ult was coming in. As soon as Akali went in to try to save her team by creating a lot of chaos, she couldn't do that. She couldn't hide in her shroud because she's instantly Malzahar ulted. And you can see that she's pretty miffed about it because there's a QSS in that inventory already.
I will give credit there to blue team there retreating, seeing it was a 3v5, but still figuring out like how they can turn this around, and then catching red team off guard and getting some kills to actually kind of even it out in the end.
Yeah, honestly, this game's on a nice edge, and I'm really feeling like we're about to close this out. Blue team is pushing for the win, and if they go for another fight like that, I don't think the game will go on much longer. Kha'Zix still going for the cheeky poke. He's really low health. That's a little sus for him to walk up so close. I think they're looking right now for an engage, either a hook or a Var Assault onto the Galio. And there it is. Var Assault onto the Galio. Instantly, Varus is looking for the damage. Q's Galio, but isn't able to kill him.
Oh,
Hook
man.
on the Thresh. Thresh is in there. Hippo dies in the middle of the fight. Two Tox is trying to put out damage, but he's just he's in danger the entire time. The suppression on Haley comes out, but the QSS is also effective at stopping the Malzahar ult. And both teams are just aping on each other, but blue team comes out on top.
I swear,
Oh my
everyone
gosh.
looked like they were getting executed left and right. You just kept on hearing whether or not that was like Pyke getting executes, like everyone just seeing blood in the water, or a team of assassins trying to close it out whenever they see low health totals. Wow, what a fight there.
was
What a way to
wild.
close it out.
And what a difficult fight for Two Toxin too. You could tell he was trying his best to get in the fight, stay in damage range, but it was just so hard for him to walk up. Is that it? Is this game? It looks like it. Wow, clean ending from blue team. What a great game.
What a...
You'll love to see it. I love that they went in with the skill check comp, and I love that they pulled it off. Oh, what a great move from blue team. I want to see these ego picks more often. With Heyland or Akali, like, I don't know. If I were on the enemy team, I'd be scared of that too. And Kha'Zix is kind of new too. Have we had any Kha'Zix game yet? This might be the second Kha'Zix game we've had in recent memory. Yeah, that was a dangerous Kha'Zix. He didn't pop off, or it didn't seem like he popped off as much as the other champs, but he was scaling, and he was kind of hitting the point of the game where he was going to be really dangerous. So, yeah, I love it. I love the comp. I love that they ego check the other team, and I hope we see more comps like this in the future.